For 3 years, I didn't know my daughter's name. Couldn't remember how to tie my shoes. Lived in a fog where yesterday and 50 years ago were the same nothing. Then, at 2:17 p.m. on March 8th, the fog lifted for exactly 5 minutes. In those 300 seconds of clarity, I remembered everything, my name, my training, and how to disarm a man with an AR-15. My name is Master Sergeant James Wilson, and this is how Alzheimer's gave me back my life just long enough to save 200 others. I'm writing this with help. My daughter Sarah types while I speak during my few clear moments. Most days, I don't know her, don't know myself, don't know the difference between the jungle in Vietnam and the garden outside my window at Mercy General's long-term care unit. But sometimes, for seconds or minutes, I surface, like a drowning man getting one gulp of air before going under again. The doctors call it paradoxical lucidity, when dying brains suddenly work again. Nobody knows why. Maybe the brain's last fight. Maybe God's cruel joke. Maybe practice for the final clarity before death. All I know is that on March 8th, my lucidity came at exactly the right moment. I've been in Mercy General's Alzheimer's unit for 18 months. Level 4 care. That means I can't dress myself, shower alone, or remember that my wife Margaret died in 2018. I live in a loop where every day is new and terrifying. The staff are patient. They answer the same questions hundreds of times. Where's Margaret? In heaven, James. When did she die? 5 years ago. 5 years. But I just saw her. My room is on the 4th floor cardiac wing. They put Alzheimer's patients here because we wander and cardiac patients can't chase us. I patrol the halls in my hospital slippers, checking perimeters that exist only in my broken mind. The nurses play along. All clear, Sergeant Wilson. Charlie's out there, I tell them. Always watching. They don't know that under the confusion my body remembers. 40 years of muscle memory doesn't need conscious thought. I still walk heel to toe, minimizing sound. Still check corners with a mirror technique. Still catalog exits, choke points, defensive positions. My brain is dying, but my training is immortal. Sarah visits every day at 2 p.m. Shows me pictures, tells me stories about grandchildren I don't remember having. She's patient like her mother, beautiful like her too. On March 8th, she was running late. Traffic, she told me later. If she'd been on time, she'd have been in the lobby when the shooting started. At 2:15 p.m., I was in the common room, watching a war movie I couldn't follow. My mind kept slipping. Was I watching or remembering? Was that actor on screen or my squad leader from '68? The boundaries between then and now don't exist anymore. 2:16 p.m., something felt wrong. The air changed. Pressure dropped like before an ambush. My body tensed, muscle memory firing neurons my conscious mind couldn't access. One of the cardiac patients noticed. "You okay, James?" I couldn't answer, couldn't form words, but my body knew danger. 2:17 p.m., the first shots echoed up the stairwell, precise, controlled, 3-round bursts. Not panic shooting, execution shooting, professional, and then it happened. The fog lifted, not gradually like morning mist. Instantly, like someone flipped a switch. 1 second I was James lost in time. The next I was Master Sergeant James Wilson, Force Recon Marine, 15 combat deployments, expert marksman, hand-to-hand combat instructor. I knew everything. My name, the date, my location, my condition. The fact that I had Alzheimer's. The reality that this clarity was temporary. And most importantly, that someone was systematically executing people 3 floors below. No time for wonder. No time to marvel at thinking clearly. Just assessment and action. I stood, startling the cardiac patients. My body moved differently, not the shuffling gait of dementia, but the purposeful stride of a warrior. I went to the nurses' station where Linda was charting. "Linda," I said, my voice clear for the first time in months. "Active shooter in the building, 3 floors down, moving systematically, lock down this floor, now." She stared at me, mouth open. I'd been asking her who she was every day for a year. "James, how are you? Paradoxical lucidity. Google it later, right now, code silver, move." The shots were getting closer. He was climbing, taking his time. Room by room execution. Linda hit the panic button, automated voice, Code Silver, active shooter, lockdown procedures in effect. But lockdown wouldn't save us, not from someone systematic. He'd shoot through doors, hunt room by room. We needed offensive action. How many security? I asked Linda. 2, maybe 3. Armed? No, hospital policy. Christ, unarmed security against an active shooter. Might as well have teddy bears guarding sheep from wolves. I moved to the stairwell door, listened. Footsteps, steady, unhurried. He knew nobody could stop him. My mind calculated. Heavy boots, multiple weapons from the sound profile, body armor probable. This wasn't a psychotic break. This was planned. Room 408, Mr. Peterson, the retired cop. Stroke victim, but his service weapon might be in his personal effects. I ran, my body remembering speed it hadn't shown in years. Found his lockbox in the closet. Combination lock. No time. Room 415, maintenance closet. Grabbed a hammer, better than nothing. The elevator dinged. He'd given up on stairs, was using the elevator. Stupid, or confident, probably both. I positioned myself beside the elevator doors. The cardiac patients were being herded into rooms by nurses, doors locking. Good, fewer variables, the elevator climbed. 2, 3, my mind ran tactical scenarios. He'd exit shooting, sweep left or right, I'd have 1 second of surprise. The hammer was wrong, too slow, too close. I needed distance and distraction. Fire extinguisher. Perfect. I grabbed it from the wall mount as the elevator showed 4. My hands remembered the weight, the balance. Improvised weapons training, Camp Pendleton, 1975. Everything was clear, everything was returning. The doors opened. He came out, tactical rifle up, sweeping. Black tactical vest, a RM-15, multiple magazines. Young, maybe 25. Focused on the hallway, not the immediate corners. Mistake. I triggered the extinguisher, see Otwo blast directly in his face. Blinding, freezing, disorienting. He swung the rifle toward me, but I was already moving. Hammer to his wrist, bones breaking. Rifle dropping. My body flowing through movements drilled 10,000 times. He reached for a pistol. I drove the extinguisher into his solar plexus, followed with an elbow to his jaw. He went down but rolled, trained, not some amateur. Maybe military gone wrong. He pulled a knife. I smiled. Actually smiled. Because for this moment I wasn't a dying old man. I was who I used to be. We danced. Him young and strong but emotional, me old and weak but calm. He lunged. I redirected, using his momentum. Textbook. He tried to recover, but I had his wrist, applying pressure to nerves that never forget their purpose. The knife clattered away. Ground fight now. He was stronger, but I knew tricks older than his parents. Pressure points, joint locks. Dirty fighting from a dirty war. I got him in a rear naked choke, sinking it deep. Sleep, I whispered, just sleep. He fought, bucked, tried to break free, but I held on, counting seconds. 5, 6, 7, he went limp. Not dead, unconscious. I cable-tied his hands with zip ties from the nurse's station, then his feet, checked his pulse. Stable. The fog was creeping back. I could feel it at the edges, darkness wanting to reclaim me. But not yet. Please, not yet. Clear, I shouted, my voice already starting to slur. Threat, neutralized. Linda peered out from the nurse's station. James, oh my God, James. I tried to speak, but words were getting harder. The clarity was fading like sunset, beautiful and inevitable. I pointed at the shooter, then at the ties, trying to convey, check the restraints with gestures as language failed me. Sarah, I managed. My. Sarah, she's coming, James, she's safe. You saved us, you saved everyone. I wanted to say more. Wanted to explain about the lucidity, about remembering everything, about being myself one last time. But the fog was winning. My legs gave out and I sat heavily beside the unconscious shooter, my hand on his rifle to keep it secure even as my mind dissolved. By the time police arrived, I was gone again. Not physically, I sat there breathing, blinking. But the James who'd saved the hospital was back in the fog. They found me holding the rifle, staring at it without recognition, asking why this stick was so heavy. The aftermath came to me in pieces, like a broken movie. Sarah crying, hugging me while I asked who she was. Police trying to question someone who couldn't remember their questions between asking and answering. Videos from security cameras showing an Alzheimer's patient moving like Jason Bourne for exactly 5 minutes. The shooter was Calvin Morris, 24, former Army, discharged for mental health issues. His mother had died in the hospital 2 days before. He blamed the doctors, decided to punish the whole building. He'd killed 3 in the lobby, 2 more on the second floor before encountering me. If he'd reached the cardiac ward, the ICU, the pediatric unit above us. They told me I saved over 200 lives. I don't remember. That's the cruelest part of Alzheimer's. It stole my finest moment. I have medals from Vietnam I can't recall earning. Now I have another heroic act lost in the fog. But sometimes, in the seconds of clarity, I remember fragments. The weight of the extinguisher, the surprise in his eyes, the feeling of being myself complete and whole for 300 precious seconds. The doctors studied my case. Paradoxical lucidity during extreme stress. They think the adrenaline, the danger, the trained response triggered something. Forced dying neurons to fire one last time. A final gift from a brain that knew it was needed. Sarah reads me the news articles during my clear moments. Alzheimer's hero. 5 minutes of clarity. The miracle Marine. I smile and nod, pretending to understand, then ask where Margaret is. They've increased security, armed guards now, better protocols. The shooter survived, paralyzed from incomplete oxygen during the choke. He'll spend life in prison, probably wondering how a confused old man destroyed him in seconds. I'm still in room 418. Still patrol the halls, still check for Charlie in the perimeter. But now the nurses look at me differently, not with pity but with awe. They know that somewhere under the dying neurons a warrior still lives. Sometimes Sarah asks if I remember that day. Usually I don't even remember her, but once, just once, I surfaced long enough to answer. I remember enough, I told her. I remember being me when it mattered. Then the fog came back and I asked where Margaret was. They tell me I'm dying faster now. That moment of clarity might have burned out circuits already failing. Maybe that's true. Maybe being myself for 5 minutes cost me months or years. Worth it. Because for 300 seconds on March 8th at 2:17 p.m., I wasn't a victim of Alzheimer's. I wasn't a confused old man lost in time. I was Master Sergeant James Wilson, and I had one last mission. Mission accomplished. Now I wait in the fog for Margaret, for whatever comes next. The staff keeps me comfortable. Sarah visits every day, showing me pictures of grandchildren I'll meet again for the first time tomorrow. And sometimes, in the seconds between confusion and clarity, I remember that I was a hero twice. Once in jungles I recall perfectly, and once in a hospital I'll never remember. Alzheimer's took everything from me. My memories, my identity, my ability to recognize love standing right in front of me, but it couldn't take my training. When death walked into my hospital, my dying brain gave me one last gift myself. 5 minutes, 300 seconds, 200 lives. Sometimes that's all the time a warrior needs.